21-inch mesh, there's a couple ways you can do it. You can do it with a rotary cutter and a cutting mat, or you can do it with the flip method and scissors, and I'm going to show you how to do both. You will need some clothespins. I like clothespins to help me hold the mesh. So what you're going to do is I have 2 rolls going here. I have a 3-tiered mesh holder. If you don't have one like that, you can just do one roll at a time, or you can just pile the 2 rolls on top of each other and let the rolls fall to the floor and just keep pulling. As long as the edges are still together, you can cut more pieces at once if you have 2 rolls. This project will take 2 rolls. So I'm pulling the end right out to 31, and I'm going to cut it at the 10-inch mark. I want 21-inch pieces, okay? And this is a fabric mesh that I'm using, so it's got little strings of jute going through it, so it's got almost like a string in it. So I'm going to pull this out again to 31. Well, that's what I'm doing. You just need 21-inch piece. And then I'm going to cut it at 10. Okay, so I just cut 4 pieces just in that few seconds there. Okay, so that's how you do it, just with a rotary cutter and a mat. You're going to cut 2 rolls. If you don't have a rotary cutter and a mat, you can get a piece of cardboard or such as this, but you're going to need it at a 21-inch long piece. Okay, I happen to have this acrylic board that is exactly 21 inches, so I'm going to use this. However, like I said, you can use a piece of cardboard or something and cut it at 21 inches. And I'm gonna keep the 2 rolls together like this. But if you do not have a rotary cutter and a cutting mat, this is another way you can cut your mesh. Put your measuring tool, whether it be cardboard, plastic, wood, or whatever, right on top of the mesh, and you're gonna take your mesh and you're gonna fold it right over top of itself, just like that, and making sure it's tight. And then you're going to put clothespin on the corner, on the top and on the bottom. Now this is going to be quite thick because I do have 2 rolls going at the same time, so I won't be able to flip it over too many times. But if you're doing just a single roll like this, you'll be able to flip it probably about 4 or 5 times. So we're going to flip it, okay, and I'll flip it again. Let's see. Hopefully my scissors are nice and sharp. Okay, make sure it's all lined up. And then once it's lined up, you're going to take that clothespin off and clothespin that whole corner together, all the pieces, just like that. Flatten it, and you're going to go up and do the exact same thing to the top. Take all the pieces and corner it so you can let go. And now we're going to cut it with scissors off the roll. Okay. And now what you're going to do is you're going to cut the folded edge. So you're going to flatten it down so it gives a little way for your measuring tool that's in there. And when you flatten it down, it gives you a little bit of a give there. And you're going to start cutting it. And once you did one cut, you want to make sure you're cutting the whole bunch. And then you're just going to cut it right up the side of this bunch. Now this is fabric mesh, so it's a little more trickier. So if you're just using normal deco mesh, it's much easier. There we go. You can remove your measuring tool now, and you're going to flip this around. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to take the clothespin off and hold it over here just to keep that roll, the fold away from where I'm cutting, just like that. And we're going to cut up the inside again. Right up the edge. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces cut pretty fast. Okay, so either method will work for this flower. Okay, so for this rose, we're going to start on row 5, and what you're going to start doing is preloading the 4 zip ties. So you go down one hole, up the other, and zip your zip tie tight until you hear that zip and it's locked. Just like that. And we're leaving ample space between the board and the head of the zip tie for working with. Okay, so now you're going to take your 21 by 21 inch piece of mesh, and the way we're going to construct this flower is the exact same petal for everything, and it's just the way it gets wrapped around each other. It's easier to explain while we do it. So I'm just going to start. So you're going to take your 21 by 21 inch piece of mesh with the factory edges on the sides, meet down the corner, and clothespin it. And you're going to do the same thing to the other side. So meet the 2 factory edge corners and clothespin it. And then we're going to make sure this bottom edge is lined up as close as possible. Now you're not going to want to fold this down or squish this down. We need this edge nice and poofy. Okay, so once you got it lined up, what we're going to do is we're going to pinch it in the middle, just like this, and scrunch towards this side with the edge facing upwards towards the ceiling. And then we're going to go back this way, the same way, scrunching, and again the edge up towards the ceiling. Okay, so you got this like mushroom type formation. And I'm going to pre-do petals, and to pre-do the petals you can use little elastic bands from Dollar Tree. There's like 500 in a package in the hair section. These are amazing to have. So you can pre-make all your petals and then start constructing the flower. So what you do is just go around twice, just like that. And then you can do a whole bunch of petals all at once. Okay, so I can do a bunch of petals all at once. And we're going to start, for this flower, we start from the inside and work our way out. So you're going to take one petal, all right, and the way you're going to put it in is you're going to take the tail of it, and the tail of it's going to go through the zip tie out towards the outside of the board, just like that. And you're going to have to zip this up tight because this tail is pretty thick. Now I'm using a fabric mesh. If you're using a normal deco mesh, it won't be as thick, but you want to pull that really tight and cut off the tail of the zip tie. Okay, we're going to construct the bud, and it's going to wrap around as we go. Okay, so what you want to do is you're going to take a corner and bring it inwards and kind of roll it. Now these zip ties don't get in the way, so just push them out of the way. And you're going to kind of roll it just like this in to itself. Okay, you need to kind of do it kind of tight. There we go. Almost looks like a kind of like a tulip when you first start it. But you can see it's forming kind of a bud. There we go. So once you got that in, you could either hot glue, or I'm just going to hold it there with a clothespin. Okay, so we're going to do put another piece in and do exactly the same. So it's going to go outwards. So you'll probably have to push that back a little. Get your tail through. Pull that tight. I have needle nose pliers to help me pull the zip tie tight. Snip that zip tie off. Bring this back up, and you can take the clothespin off. And now what you're going to do is wrap it around that bud you just made. Thinking. All right, and clip it. So now we're going to go to the next one. So we have two more. So you can kind of see that it's kind of curved in. I'm making sure when I put my tail in that that curved part is going towards the inside center of the flower. That way it's easier to wrap this around the bud rather than trying to flip it that way. So again, I'm going to take the tail, push that bud forward, stick this in, and pull tight. And we're going to wrap. Again, wrap. Take that off and wrap around again. It's like a big hug. There we go. So we got one more to do for the center. And it is right there. So again, it's kind of curved in. You take your tail, push that forward, get that in there, pull it as tight as you can. Cut the zip tie tail off, bring it back up, and again, we're going to try and wrap this around. Okay, once you got it wrapped around, we're going to pin it or clothespin it, and we'll be able to fix our center after we get the whole thing constructed. Okay, so keep it pinned just like that. And now we're going to work on row 3. We're going to totally forget row 4. We're going to work on row 3 now. You're going to preload all of row 3, which are 8 zip ties. So go down one hole, up the other, and zip it. So it's, you close it, but you're not bringing it right down to the board. We need that space between the board and the zip tie. Okay, so once you got row 3 loaded, you're going to take one of your petals and we're going to put it in exactly the same as we did row 5. So you're going to take your tail and make sure the curved part is going inwards. Take your tail, and it doesn't matter where you start. You're going to put the tail, and the tail is going to go towards the outside of the board. Okay, and we're going to pull that tight again. Okay, I'm going to wrap this. Make sure it's not caught on any other zip ties. And you're going to go around row 3, putting these petals in. Okay, so now we are going to do every other hole, and we're going to be doing the 2 holes that are in between here. So these 2 right here, we're going to skip that. We're going to go right here, skip this one, go right here, and you're going to want to do these up. Now, to do these up, you can dig through the mesh, or you can just do them, flip your flower over and do like I'm doing, and just do your zip ties up like this. It's just a little bit easier than trying to see through all the mesh that's on the front. So we're going to do, like I said, every other hole. So where there's no holes here, we're going to do these holes up here. So there's 8 of them. And these ones are going to be the same petals, except the tails will be going inwards. So we constructed so far row 5 and 3 with the tails going towards the outside of the board. The row 2, the tails are going to go towards the inside of the board. Okay, so we're all loaded. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Now I just pin these up so I can kind of see where I'm going. It just helps because when I take the clothespin off, it's all just going to fall, which we want it eventually to do, but first we want to get the outside petals on. So what you're going to do is take a petal, and with the curve of that petal going inwards, the tail is going to go inwards. So in like this, and I know you really probably can't see. I will get a blank board so you can see what I'm doing. We want to make sure that the tail that we just put inwards is not pressing down on any of the petals on row 3, because we want this to be really whimsical and flowy. Okay, so what I'm doing is going into the zip tie this way, inwards. So row 2, all the tails go inwards, and zip it up tight. Once you got it tight, make sure that tail is flat against the board so it's not impeding on any of the petals in front of it, because we want these all standing up. Again, I'm using fabric mesh, so it's a little bit more difficult to use because it is thick. So if you're just using normal deco mesh, you should have no issues, hopefully. we're done construction. Now it's just basically moving the petals and making sure they're each going around each other, which is around the bud. So just go row by row. Pull up. Now you don't want these flat because you want to keep them, they're nice and flowy. Just like, wow, this is gorgeous. Holy. Now that's a rose. Okay, so we're going to add some green leaves. Okay, we're going to move on to the leaves. Now you can put leaves all the way around your rose if you'd like, or you can just put a few green leaves around. It's totally up to you. I am going to put, I think, 2 on this side and 2 on this side. And what I'm doing is I'm going to take my zip tie, and we're going through the 2 holes on row 2, and just do it up till you hear a zip. Okay, so I'm using this hole and this hole, and then I'm going to go directly across, and I think I'm going to use this hole. So I want to go, so right across is this hole. So put your zip tie down and do it up, and then this hole. And like I said, you can do eight leaves all the way around if you'd like. I'm just going to do 4 just to give it that little bit of green in behind. And I'm going to be using 10-inch mesh. Okay, so with your 10-inch mesh, I'm using a fabric mesh again just to keep with the construction of the rose. I'm going to cut a 20-inch piece, and I'm going to cut, well, I have 1 leaf already on there. I need 3 more. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I'm going to take my mesh, and the curl is going to go up. I'm going to fold it over and match the 2 seams up, just like this. Okay, we have that fold there, and we can make that flat. Okay, I'm going to turn it into a diamond shape, and then just down here, I'm going to pinch it right in the middle, just like that. Okay, and there's our tail. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my tail of this leaf and put it through the zip tie. So you want the curve of the leaf facing down. So if it's on a fence or a door, it'll rest against the fence or door. And now we got to slide it in. Easier said than done. And pull the zip tie. You're going to have to cut some of that tail off, okay, just a little bit, just so it's not hitting any of the yellow leaves, and then cut the tail off. And then we got 2 green leaves on this side, and then we're going to put 2 on this side. So we're going to do the same thing. Get your mesh, fold it over, Now there's several different ways you can make leaves. You can use 21-inch mesh. It's totally up to you. I just want a few leaves, and I really like this dark green, and I only had it in 10-inch, so. Now I gotta find the zip tie. There it is. I'm gonna stick this in again, dig through. And once it's through the zip tie, you kind of pull the tail so you can pull that leaf down. There we go. And then zip it tight. Cut your zip tie. Get in there with your scissors, cut that little bit of tail without cutting the yellow petal. There we go. And then just push it down so it's not hitting anything. And then we have one more. One more green. And then your rose is complete. Put it on a stand. You can put it, you can make a hanger for it with some ribbon. Depends where you're going to put it, how you're going to hang it. So if you're just going to hang it on your fence, I would suggest just putting a zip tie through the hanging holes, and then you just hang it on your fence or your garden or wherever. Okay. I'm going to try and snip this off first and then stick it in. Might be easier. Yeah, it is. Okay. And we are done. We have done the giant rose. Oh my gosh, that's gorgeous. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Is that not incredible or what? I'm amazed myself. Anyways, I'd love to see yours when you're finished. So email us at uniqueinthecreek@hotmail.com or visit our Facebook page or join our team of unique family at Unique Wreath Creators and Workshops. All right, guys? The Unique Creek Giant Yellow Rose of Texas.